Good evening. Welcome to the January 18th, 2023 Mercer Island Arts Council regular video meeting. The time is now 5:35. I'm Elizabeth Mitchell, Chair of the Arts Council. Tonight's Arts Council meeting is using video conferencing technology provided by Zoom. The video of this meeting is being broadcast live via Zoom and will be uploaded to the city's YouTube channel later this week. City staff, liaisons to the Arts Council, and other panelists are also participating in tonight's meeting remotely. Other public audience members may be listening to the meeting by telephone or online. Additionally, the city has opened up the community center to provide public space for viewing and participating in the meeting. Welcome to all, and thank you for joining us. So tonight we are excited to welcome our new City Council liaison, Councilmember Ted Weinberg, member. If you want to go ahead and just share a little bit with us about what interests you in serving on the Arts Council as our liaison.
Oh, sure. Well, I guess I have been involved in the arts my entire life. I started playing the piano when I was 5. And my wife and I are both plein air landscape painters, acrylics, and was very much into theater and music and acting in high school and somewhat in college. And I think that the arts are more than just part of our culture on the island. I think they are our culture here on the island, and I definitely am excited about helping to shepherd the art that we have on the island and see what we can do to best leverage the 1% for the art funds that are available to help encourage more deployment of the arts on the island and towards a good cause.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about what brought you to us as a liaison. Welcome again, and we definitely look forward to working with you.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Great. Board members, please ensure that your microphones are turned on for the roll call, and will staff please call the roll?
Thank you, Chair. Rosemary Moore.
Present.
Suzanne Scone. Elizabeth Mitchell.
Here.
Layla Brule.
Here.
Jonathan Harrington.
Here.
Rachel Blum.
Present.
Daniel Becker.
Present.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Individuals wishing to speak live during the appearances portion of our meeting may do so by telephone, via Zoom, or in person at the Mercer Island Community and Event Center, provided, however, they registered their desire to speak with the city admin staff by 4 p.m. today. Our city admin staff will call on you by name or telephone number when it is your turn to speak. City staff, is there anyone who's signed up for appearances that wishes to address the board?
We do not have any appearances, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. On to the department report, and for that, we're going to welcome Eleanor Knight, our recreation coordinator and staff liaison.
Good evening. Pop this on. All right, let's get started. Welcome back. We've got a lot of updates and a couple things coming up, so we can hop right into it. So in early December, we had the Oriana Ladies League come and host a cultural event at the community center. They rented the Mercer room and they had a fabulous runway with some fashion and dancing and singing. It was a great event. We loved having them there, and we're excited to welcome them back in the future. Illuminate MI went off wonderfully in December. I was happy to have a lot of participation with this, and we were excited to see a lot of you there and a lot of the community members out on Mercer Island and seeing all these different events. Of course, thank you to all of our sponsors and partners. We couldn't do it without them, and we're excited to bring this back year after year. And here's some more pictures for a couple different events here. Just great time, lots of participation, and yeah. A little bit about a past project that's come through the Arts Council, the donation of the Raven photo. So this is a Palladium print by Ron Reeder. It was presented to the city by MyBall in 2019 and approved by the Arts Council in 2021. And then on January 3rd, the City Council voted unanimously to accept the donation of it into the city's public art collection. So this is a fantastic addition. We're really excited about it and excited to have it on display. Talking about my ball at the MICEC, we had a great show over last week and over the weekend. Some beautiful art that's showing in the community center. I encourage you all to get out there and look at it when you get a chance. We did have the reception last Thursday. It was a fantastic event and there was some prizes won. So you can go and see the ribbons and see who won. Beautiful art. I can't stress that enough. We've had a lot of compliments from patrons. And this show is up through March 2nd. We have some lectures coming to the community center. The first one is through the Mercer Island City Sister Association. Their French art lectures on February 21st and April 27th. For more information, you can see on the Sister City website. Of course, this presentation is going to be available with the agenda packet online afterwards, so you'll be able to click all these links and follow them later. And Osher is back at the community center. The first offering is a 4-week course on the Federalist Papers. This is coming up starting January 26th from 1 to 3. To register, you need to email them through the University of Washington or call the phone number. And a little bit more about the information, you can go on their website and look at the programs. Coming up, we have the Island Lanterns coming back. You can pick up your lanterns for free at the community center on Saturday, January 26th from 9 to 5. You can pick up a lantern and create it at home. There'll also be craft supplies there. You can also buy your own lantern and create it at home and then drop it off at the end of February. And then they'll be installed all over the community and you'll be able to walk around and see all the beautiful lanterns that people are going to create. I'm really excited. Thank you to Arts Washington and National Endowment for the Arts to support this project. If you have any questions, please contact Sarah Bluvis or go to the website mercerisland.gov/islandlanterns. And that's all the items. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eleanor. That was really positive. That Raven piece is incredibly gorgeous. So yay for the previous Arts Council. And all positive. So great. The next item of regular business is to review and consider approving the minutes from the October 19th, 2022 meeting. Board members, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 19th, 2022 regular meeting?
So moved. Daniel.
Thank you. Can I have a second, please?
Second the motion.
I think Lalo said first, so thank you very much. There's a motion by Daniel and a second by Lalo. Board members, please turn on your microphones, and will the city staff please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you, Chair. Rosemary Moore,
Approved.
Suzanne Scone, Elizabeth Mitchell,
Approve?
Layla Brule,
Approved.
Jonathan Harrington,
Approve.
Rachel Blum,
Approved.
and Daniel Becker.
Approve.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Motion passes and the minutes are approved. Our third item of regular business is to approve the request for proposals for the Luther Burbank Park Waterfront Improvements Art in Public Places project. And for that, we're going to welcome Sarah Bluvis.
Good evening, everybody. Hey, Raven, do you mind really quickly promoting Paul and Suzanne to panelists? I see them as attendees now. They probably were just using the regular link. They are critical to this conversation, so I want to make sure that they are able to join.
They are being promoted as we speak.
Thank you. So for the record, Sarah Bluvis, CIP project manager, and I'm excited to be here with members of the Public Art Committee, Daniel Becker and Suzanne Scone, who have been working with Paul West and I on pulling together the request for proposals process for art integration at Luther Burbank. So as you all recall, we started talking about this project last year. This is in connection with the big docks and waterfront renovation and improvements that are on the horizon, currently in design. And Paul has been really fantastic about thinking early on how we can integrate public art into the overall project. So tonight, Daniel, Suzanne, and I are really excited to seek your approval on the RFP so we can get it out the door and start receiving submittals for public art projects. I am going to turn it over to Suzanne to provide an overview of just kind of where we have landed, how we got here, our process, and then I'll jump back in to respond to a couple of comments and questions that we got from the Arts Council over the weekend. So Suzanne, if you don't mind taking it over. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm unfortunately speaking on my cell phone. How about now?
Great.
Okay, so sorry, I'm technologically challenged here, but over the past few months, we worked with a consultant to develop the RFP and took their advice on a few things, and really took a site-sensitive approach to and community sensitive approach to what we wanted from our artists, and kind of refined the timeline and particularly the cost. We wanted a cost range that would not be too limiting, but we could adjust based on what kind of response we got from our artists. So I guess that's just that in a nutshell.
Great. Daniel, do you want to add anything or feel good about that summary?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I feel good. I just would clarify for everyone that, I mean, the RFP was mostly created by either the consultant or I think a city template. I mean, Suzanne and I weren't like working extensively writing copy or anything. I mean, this was, I think this was all pretty standard, and we just provided sort of feedback on, I think, minor tweaks to make sure that it was aligned with what we thought was there, in particular, like she said, the bid range.
Great. Yes, your review and input was critical to developing the draft that we have, and that draft was included as an exhibit in your agenda packet. We requested comments and feedback ahead of time, and Rosemary was kind enough to send in a couple of comments about the RFP itself. So I just wanted to share my screen really quickly to show kind of some language that we drafted in order to address Rosemary's concerns. So just a second. Okay, can you all see a OneDrive file? Okay. So this is the draft RFP that was included in your packet, and I'm going to scroll down to the section in particular that Rosemary hoped we would add some language to. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. So first, Rosemary, thank you so much for providing input. Really appreciate it. Her primary comment was around the types of mediums that we are sort of prioritizing or requesting. Currently, or originally we had included in the RFP this section right here, and Rosemary had asked if there was a way to integrate some additional language prioritizing or encouraging more environmentally friendly practices, including materials. Everyone hopefully knows that the city is nearing the end of the process to develop the climate action plan. It's out right now for public comment and will hopefully be adopted later this quarter. But I know Rosemary and probably some others have been really engaged in following that project. So thank you so much for kind of bringing this back to the forefront. The language that we are proposing to add is this, and I'll make this even bigger. So in response to your comments, Rosemary, we are interested in adding the city encourages the use of sustainable and/or natural materials, as well as environmentally friendly art making practices where possible for this project. Applicants may also be interested in reviewing the city's draft climate action plan to identify opportunities for alignment. I know, Rosemary, I think you had requested that we require that materials be sort of sustainable. You know, I think you had mentioned no plastics. And I think for the purposes of this project, we would like to use maybe softer language around encourage, in part because these pieces, however they're developed, you know, whatever the eventual artist decides upon in collaboration with the community and the city, they'll be out in the elements all the time, especially on a waterfront. So that comes with its own challenges. So we want to make sure that the materials are durable and can be kind of long lasting. There's also public safety concerns. So for instance, if an artist chose to take on the project of doing the railings for the new outdoor classroom or viewing deck, we want to make sure that, you know, they're able to create something that is both safe and you know, sustainable or aligns with our goals and practices. So this hopefully kind of drives that, you know, hoping and encouraging folks to think about sustainability and environmentally friendly art making when submitting their proposals without necessarily full on prohibiting other materials. We of course, you know, or hope that the selected artist or artist team will engage the community in kind of the final design for this project. So that'll be another opportunity to really explore ways that we can incorporate ideas related to sustainability, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion in the project more fully as it works for the city. So, but for the purposes of submittals right now, I think it may be a little bit better to leave this language a little broader, and then we can work with the selected artist or artist team once they're under contract to really hone in on what that looks like. So I guess, Rosemary, since this was your, you know, your suggestion, are you comfortable with this proposed language in connection to what you were hoping to achieve with that suggestion?
Yes, I mean, what you say makes sense, and I would be comfortable with it. I'd be interested to know if other people have any thoughts on this.
I just want to say thank you to Rosemary for your feedback and your thoughtfulness in that, and also Sarah for your response. I love the additional language. I think it's fantastic. Sarah, if you're comfortable, I'd love to open the floor. If anybody has any other thoughts or comments, I feel free to share that.
Great.
Just go ahead and give me your little like Zoom hand if anybody wants to weigh in. Okay, I'm not seeing any. So Sarah, did you have more to?
Yep, so there's just one other piece before we would like to ask for a motion on this. There's the element of the artist selection panel. So we also requested you all to help provide some input on who should serve on the selection panel. Per the acquisition guidelines that we have for the public art program, there's very specific positions that we need to include. So that includes a Mercer Island Arts Council member, and Lalo, you had reached out and expressed interest in serving on the selection panel. And I think Daniel and Suzanne, as public art committee members, are very excited about that as well. So we were thinking that for Arts Council representation, it would be Daniel and Lalo. Then there's also other positions, a lay citizen, a local artist, and a citizen who has special interest in the specific site, a member of the design commission, a member of the city council, a city staff person who's non-voting. And then for this project in particular, we also recommended including a Parks and Recreation Commission member because this is a pretty high profile park project in general. I think it would be great to include the Parks Commission very early on in the process. So far, in terms of getting the selection panel together, we've got our Arts Council members. Paul and I will serve as staff advisors. Ted, I know you're new to the Arts Council, but generally for these, we ask our City Council liaison to serve on the selection panel. So hopefully you will be open to that.
I'd be honored to.
Wonderful. And then we've also reached out to the Design Commission and Parks and Recreation Commission chairs and asked them to appoint members from their respective boards. So we've heard from the Parks and Rec Commission, still waiting to hear from the Design Commission. So that just leaves a lay citizen, an artist, and a citizen with special interest in the project site. A couple folks sent in some ideas for individuals, and then Paul also reached out to Friends of Luther Burbank, which is an organization that he works with closely on projects at the park. So they've recommended a few specific people as well. We're still happy to take suggestions from the Arts Council, but since we haven't totally identified everyone yet tonight, what we would also like to ask for is your endorsement for the Public Art Committee in consultation with Chair Mitchell to determine the final artist selection panel makeup and move forward with the invites when we're ready for that. So as part of the motion tonight to approve the RFP, if someone doesn't mind, if you all are amenable to including that piece on at the end as well, that'll help us keep the process moving forward so we can find some great artists to help us out with this project.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you to Daniel and Suzanne and Paul and Sarah for all your hard work on this. And thank you for Daniel and Layla for volunteering to serve on that committee. So when I ask for the motion, Sarah, just to clarify them, we would like a motion to approve the request for the proposals for the Luther Burbank Park Waterfront Improvements Art and Public Places Project and to approve the committee. Is that correct?
I would say and to direct or designate, and I would say to appoint the artist selection panel pending final consultation between the Public Art Committee and the chair.
Okay. And artist selection panel. Got it. So can I please have a motion to approve the request for proposals for the Luther Burbank Park Waterfront Improvements, Art and Public Places project and to appoint an artist selection panel?
I will so move.
Thank you, Rosemary. May I have a second? Is that a yes, Jonathan?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll second.
Fantastic, no problem. So there is a motion by Rosemary and a second by Jonathan. Board members, please turn on your microphones and city staff, please conduct a roll call vote.
Thank you, Chair. Rosemary Moore,
Approve.
Suzanne Scone,
Approve.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Approve.
Lalo Brule,
Approve.
Jonathan Harrington,
Approve.
Rachel Blum,
Approved.
Daniel Becker.
Approve.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Motion passes and that is approved. The fourth item is the Arts Council events update. And for this, we're going to welcome Katie Herzog, Recreation Coordinator. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Just a second, I will share my screen. Oh. Mine's not enough. Oh, sorry. There we go. I am Katie Herzog, Recreation Coordinator, and tonight I am here to give some updates regarding my favorite topic, city events. So just a quick background. At the October 19th Arts Council meeting, the Events Committee recommended that the following objectives be included in the 2023-2024 Arts and Cultural Work Plan pertaining to city coordinated events. And tonight we would like to tackle a couple of these. So the first objective that we will look at is the gain consensus on whether the Arts Council is inclined to have organized attendance and participation at city coordinated events. If supported, the direction will be given to the events committee to carry forward and plan those out. We believe that being present at events gives the Arts Council a real opportunity to engage with the community, to learn further about the arts and cultural desires that the community may have, and that can help inform decisions moving forward. This is a list of some of our planned 2023 events, the next one being Leap for Green on April 22nd, a sustainability fair at the community center. We are partnering with the Mercer Island High School Black Student Union to have a Juneteenth celebration on June 19th. Summer celebration is scheduled for July 15th. And then of course, in July and August, we have 5 Mostly Music in the Park concerts. Shakespeare in the Park will be back at Luther Burbank. We have a pumpkin walk that we will bring back in October, a date to be determined. And you just heard about Illuminate MI wrapping up. We will plan to have our tree lighting and Firehouse Munch on December 1st. The second objective is hopefully self-explanatory, but a lot of times the hardest thing for staff is to know kind of who and where to turn to for arts and culture connections. So if the council does support this, direction again will be given to the to the events committee to carry forward, to come up with maybe an easy way to relay connections to staff on various items. Having you be a group to steward our events and recognize goals, both programmatic and revenue sources, really could help us gain connections and sponsorships down the line. An example for this council is, Elizabeth Mitchell has a good family connection with the Youth Theater Northwest, and we've been able to partner with them on a couple events this past year. We're looking to house a couple of their summer camps at the community center this year, and just kind of having the connections to bring to us, I think will help further arts and culture in our events. So I'd like to pause just with those 2 objectives to see if there are any questions. Tonight, we're really looking for kind of a thumbs up on those 2 objectives that then the events committee will meet and come up with planning and a consensus of how we're going to carry forward. And I can stop sharing if there are any questions.
Thank you, Katie. Yes, we'll open it up. Jonathan.
Yeah, this is a question for Katie. So I was actually involved in the first couple of years of Leap for Green, and I was just curious, in those early years, there was an environmental education component that was pretty important. And so is that the plan for this coming Leap for Green? Just curious what planning you've done so far on the content.
Yeah, we certainly want it to be an educational, family-friendly, sustainable fair like we've had in the past. Staff is working with me as well as our sustainability manager, Ross Freeman. We want to have vendors on site who can give out pertinent information, giveaways, Q&A time. And then we'll also be tapping into some of our city resources. Our natural resources team is on board to, perhaps do an urban forest pop-up of some sort or educational walks through Luther Burbank Park. Electric vehicles have always been kind of a big part of the event and a fun way to get families to see kind of the range of sustainability options. So that's certainly our plan, to keep it educational and certainly have vendors on site who can provide more information to people.
And how about community organizations?
I was just going to comment on that really quick, Jonathan, is to say that I'm on the events subcommittee, and that is one of the things that the subcommittee made one of our priorities and goals is for city events to be more sustainable and environmentally friendly in general, not just that specific one. So just wanted to throw that out there. Sorry,
Yes.
what was your other question?
Perfect.
Yeah, just wondering if in the early days we had, community organizations, environmental organizations that tabled at the Leap for Green event. So I didn't know whether that was something you were considering.
Definitely. Yeah, we like to use the Mercer room as kind of the vendor space, so they can come with a table and presentations, giveaways, educational pieces to hand out. We have just created kind of that application that we can then send out to, past groups. I think using our sustainability manager for new organizations, groups, businesses that might fit what we're looking for. I'll be tapping into his resources as well to maybe get new groups as well as the past vendors that we've had. We haven't had Leap for Green, I think, since 2018. So we're going back a little ways, but I think it's really exciting that we're going to bring it back and certainly have more of an educational piece to this event.
Well, they have
And not to speak for Katie, but I think definitely that she is very responsive. So if you have any ideas in that, that feel free to email those. Like if you have something in mind or thoughts or ideas that might help in that event or any, feel free to reach out to her because she's great. Rosemary was next, and then although if you had a question, then go ahead, and if you
I was just curious with Katie. Years ago, we first started this Leap for Green. We had a maypole out in front for the kids.
Yeah.
Are you going to do that again?
We will try to get that again. Yes.
That was fun. Okay, that's all. Just a little aside.
Oh,
yeah,
that sounds really fun. I feel like we need some magical singers to go with it, but that might just be my bias.
I love that. Yeah. So, I mean, this really relates to that second objective of creating, using this group as the referral group. And how will that work?
Mm-hmm.
Will the events committee, is it just simply reaching out and emailing? Do we have maybe a monthly email that goes out to capture the events in the next 4 months to then say any ideas, any connections, really taking all of your ideas will be really important to move forward, and certainly to have that arts and culture piece, presented in all of our events. So
I would just add,
there was a question. Rosemary had a question. Yeah.
Yes, I would just add that I did maypole dancing when I was like 6 years old, and I thought it was this wonderful thing.
Yeah, they're fun.
I love that.
So Rosemary's volunteering to lead the maypole is what I just heard. I don't know.
No, my actual question was, you mentioned having the Arts Council participating, which obviously sounds good, but I just wondered exactly what is meant by that.
Yeah, so if that's kind of a thumbs up from this group tonight, the events committee would meet and talk about what events seem maybe most relevant for the Arts Council to be at, or maybe what audience are you trying to reach. It would be great to have, let's just say at Mostly Music in the Park as the example, we say, yes, we are going to have 2 or 3 Arts Council members at each concert. You're going to set up a table and a tent right next to the city booth and use it as an opportunity to talk with the community, educate about the Arts Council, talk about what you do, and also gain feedback of what are the desires of our community for arts and culture related, whatever that could be, activities, events. Just use it as a way to really get the Arts Council out in the community for feedback, conversation, and such.
So it would be organized ahead of time. One would have to say who's going to be there, who's, the table would need to be provided, etc.
Right. Yeah. So my hope, if that's, again, kind of a thumbs up consensus from this group, is the events committee would look at the calendar, say, again, as the example, Mostly Music makes the most sense for us to be at. We would create that calendar and then, you know, bring it back as a sign up or however, you know, you guys wanted to plan together. But I think it's important to, you know, educate what the Arts Council is all about, and then also get feedback of, you know, perhaps direction of what we need to do moving forward for arts and culture. So I don't know if anyone objects to that, but
I
if
was
you
gonna
wanna-
say, can I just sort of have, so this question is not how are we gonna organize it or what is it gonna look like? That would be the next step that the events subcommittee would talk about. So I guess right now, my first question would be, can I just sort of have like a thumbs up, medium down if you as a council are interested in having an organized presence at our city events? So thumbs up, maybe no.
I think it's a great idea. I think it depends on the events. And I think, you know, certainly that would be something the events council would come up with. But yes, I think it's a great idea. So thumbs up. As long as,
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Suzanne,
I think
I just didn't look, I didn't see yours because you're a little bit smaller on the screen. Were you, Suzanne, were you thumbs up? Awesome. Okay. So, so with that, we're just saying, yes, we would be interested in what that looks like. And then the event subcommittee will meet. So what I would ask is if you have thoughts about that, or there's a certain one that you really want to be at or something like that, to go ahead and email myself and Katie and Rachel. Now, Daniel, are you still serving on the event subcommittee or did you kind of step back? I don't want to overload you. We can talk about that later, but maybe Daniel too.
Yeah, I mean, I think this other stuff's going to be over long before then, so I'm happy to.
Okay, great. So Daniel, myself, Rachel, and Katie, or just myself and Katie, and we can forward it on to the rest of the committee. So I'd love to hear if you have thoughts or feedback or ideas about all of those things. Would be fabulous. So for now, we're just saying we're interested, and then we'll bring back to the next meeting what that looks like. If that sounds good to everybody. My one question for you, and you know, this is my stickler, Katie, are we going to have anything besides music at the Mostly Music in the Park?
We're going to try. We're going to try.
Okay.
Our budget may allow to have some sort of, you know, we've thrown out maybe opening performances or kid specific something, you know, beforehand. So we will.
Jugglers with fire, maybe.
Yes.
Does our insurance cover that?
Or dancing.
Yeah. Dancing group would be great. So yeah, we just while we're on the topic, I wasn't going to talk about this, but we are accepting submissions for Mostly Music in the Park right now. We keep it open until the end of March. So if you have any band connections or groups you'd like to see at this year's concert, feel free to send them my way or send them to our website, which kind of outlines how to submit, you know, your band or your singing or whatever it might be. So it's exciting to get those submissions coming in.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. Was there another question?
Yeah, and
Sorry.
then just the second piece would be, if everyone's in agreement, take also to the events committee using this group as a referral group, whatever that looks like, and we would come up as a group with either an easy way to get it to staff or maybe topics that we are looking for, and then present it to the Arts Council as well.
Fantastic. Can I just have a sense with a thumbs up how the Arts Council feels about that?
I wasn't clear on what you
really tiny.
Could you explain that again, Katie? I wasn't quite clear on what you were saying, what you were asking for.
Yeah, I'm going to put this back.
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, so using this group as a referral group, kind of stewards for our events, to pass on any arts and culture connections, ideas, perhaps sponsorship opportunities. You know, we reach out to a lot of the same businesses on Mercer Island for sponsorships, and there are so many great businesses that we've worked with who are sponsors for our events, but there could be, you know, an extension of that if you perhaps know businesses or organizations where our events make sense for them to sponsor. And the events committee could, you know, maybe come up with an easy way, perhaps specific topics and how you would refer people connections to city staff. we want to use you guys for any ideas, connections that you may have to be able to help us enhance our city coordinated events.
Thank you for that clarification. Did you have another slide to show, Katie?
I do.
Okay. So can I get, before we move on to the next one, can I get a consensus? I'm going to look at your tiny little of a thumbs up if that's something that the Arts Council thinks is a good idea. Thumbs, I'm seeing all up thumbs. Fantastic. Okay.
Okay.
Katie, I'll let you continue. Thank you.
One last thing. So we think this is a really fun way to engage local artists, hype up summer celebration, and have, hopefully some really great artwork shown to help us lead up to summer celebration and of course during the event. So staff would like to solicit a call for artists where we ask for design proposals for the 2023 summer celebration t-shirt. T-shirts would be sold as a revenue source at the event or perhaps a pre-sale before the event, so you could wear your shirt there. T-shirts designs would also be the official kind of staff and volunteer shirt that is worn at the event. So what staff would recommend is that the events committee assists us in setting the criteria for that artist call out. We would probably have a pretty tight timeline. I'm thinking around the first week of February, the events committee could meet both on our 2 previous topics and the call for artist criteria. We could then put forth that call for artist design work. We could have applications open, February 15th through April 15th to give a good chunk of time. The events committee could meet to review submissions in late April. And then if desired, the events committee could bring up to 5 submissions to the full Arts Council to select a design and move forward with. Now, because of our timeline and because of our meeting schedule, to do this, we would probably have to host a special meeting in May, or if desired, the Arts Council could just turn the final decision over to the events committee to make our design some selection, kind of whatever the council feels most fit, or doesn't want to have a special meeting just to pick, that's also fine. So regardless, our next steps will be to set an events committee meeting for early February, but I would love to hear any feedback on the call for artists design.
Thanks, Katie. That's a really cool thing. Is this maybe because someone on the Arts Council complained about the shirts last week?
You maybe got in our heads.
Am I? I'm so proud.
Yeah.
Rosemary, go ahead. I read this and I just had some concerns, and I anticipate I'll probably be voted down on this, but do we actually want another t-shirt? I mean, I have so many t-shirts from one-off events that I never wear again. I might wear them on the odd occasion to an exercise class, but they just go at the bottom of the drawer and they're just more stuff piling up. Mm-hmm. So although I love the creativity that you suggest, I'm just wondering if there's a way to harness it without producing more stuff that we don't need. And I mean, the side question is, you said that this might be a fundraiser. I mean, have they made a profit for the city in the past? I mean, that's a separate point, but
yeah.
So I'm sorry to be sort of putting
Rosemary,
negative out there.
Those old t-shirts, you can take all your old t-shirts from things and you could turn them into a quilt. I'm just saying, it's a thing, especially for theater people who get shirts for all the shows they do. Then they make theater people quilts.
Yeah, in theory.
Katie, this is the first time that anything like this has been proposed. Is that correct? So we don't know if it's going to make a profit.
Correct. In past years, and this is probably going back at least 7-8 years ago, we did sell some t-shirts at the city booth at Summer Celebration, depending on what it was. I can recall one year we had tie-dye shirts and they sold out. It was surprising and they sold out. Regardless, we do produce shirts for staff and volunteers to wear event day, so we're recognizable on the streets and can help at the event. There could be a way that, kid t-shirts are really popular and parents want to buy an event shirt for their children. So that could be, one idea. Maybe adults aren't as into it. I guess we don't really know. If we're, supporting a local artist, and of course that would be one of the huge promotions of this, of a local artist created the design and we're now selling them at the event. We would hope that it could generate some excitement. And if we sold them, then some revenue, that goes into the event revenue. So it is kind of a maybe it'll work, and maybe some people are still into t-shirts, but it would be, I think the highlight is we're promoting artistic ability and then, being able to award someone as the winner, of the design.
I see you, Jonathan. I was just gonna say, I love the idea personally, and but I also have to swap my clothes out seasonally because they don't all fit in my closet. So I don't know that I am the best person. But the other idea would be to open up to artists of all ages and get the schools involved. I know every year we get hit up to buy school, sweatshirts and t-shirts and all of the stuff. And that I can tell you from just looking around town that people buy them. So I think if there's a connection there that there's a big possibility, and it's a great way too if you have sponsors, you stick your sponsors on the back of the shirt or whatever, and that helps it bring in revenue without having to sell an actual t-shirt as well. So things to consider and talk about. I think I'd love to hear what our new liaison has to weigh in on that. Go ahead. And then also, I didn't forget about you, Jonathan.
I about every 2 weeks drive over to the tiny home village in South Seattle with clothing. They always need them, new clothing. Right now they need cold weather clothing, but I'm sure in the summer they'll need shirts. So if there's a bunch of t-shirts people don't want after this fundraiser is done, I'll make sure they get very lovingly used. That there will be a lot of people that will of all sizes at the village who will need them. Oh, and by the way, I had also about 30 years worth of t-shirts that at the beginning of COVID, I sewed them all into masks and gave them to hospitals. So there's lots of things you can do with t-shirts, but I can find a quick way to use the ones if you have ones you don't need.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I love that. Jonathan, you were first, and then I see you too, Rachel.
Yeah, so it might cost a little more, but we could get the t-shirts from a more sustainable producer, with made with more sustainable materials, organic materials and so forth, that would reduce their footprint a little bit. So that's one possibility. I love the idea of having a collection there where people can bring their used clothes. Yeah, my church, the Mercer Island Congregational Church, is part of Operation Night Watch, and we collected 10,000 socks for the homeless, and so there's a great need out there, and yeah, we could just have a bin there at Summer Celebration and collect that kind of stuff.
That's awesome. I love that. Rachel, you put your hand down, but did you still have something?
Just add another vote for the t-shirts. Daniel and I have children at the early childhood school at the JCC, and for the truck day, they have a contest where the child can design the image for the truck day t-shirts and sweatshirts. And I didn't understand what a big deal is. People do save them, and children will be like, look, this is vintage truck day from 2008. And as you all know, Mercer Island is a really special community where people do take pride in that sort of thing. And I could see how this could become something that would be really popular, that, in a place like Bellevue or Kirkland, it might necessarily not.
All right, I'm hearing lots of positivity with a sensitivity to Rosemary's concern, which I hope has been addressed a little bit. And then Daniel, yes, you are super fashion forward and you want to design the shirt yourself. I'm sorry, Daniel.
No, I don't want to design a shirt, but t-shirts are basically what I do, or one of the pieces that we do professionally. And so all of these things is something that we talk about a lot. And you know, how are we not creating waste and everything? And you know, the organic comment that Jonathan brought up, I think, is a question that a lot of people bring up. But personally, one of the things that I think is trying to create something that people will actually want to use again. And sometimes that is difficult, but I think that if we should at least attempt to really be intentional with saying, how do we create something that we think is most likely that people are going to use again? I'm sort of torn on the truck day shirts that Rachel mentioned, because it actually, like, a lot of people do like them, the people who are involved with the artist, but you know, you want something that looks good enough that other people will wear, or what's the product that we're making and what's the style of the shirt. So I mean, that's what I'd like to see, is have something that people actually want to keep and isn't something that you see and immediately think, well, I'm going to wear this once and I'm never going to want to wear it again. And that's
Or
how you can,
you're forced to wear it once and you didn't want to wear it that time.
right. But I think that's how you create something that's more sustainable, is give people a product that prevents them from going out and buying another shirt, because that gives them a shirt they will actually wear more often.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds like we have some people with lots of opinions that serve on the events subcommittee, so that should be good.
Yeah, and that's great, because the hope would be that the events committee could really help with the criteria. And maybe, you know, number one is we find a sustainable vendor. So we know that we're highlighting that, and that feels really great. And, you know, age groups, you know, I know we have a really talented high school art club or department, and you know, that could be something we reach out to, but helping us set the criteria is going to be really important, you know, if we can do this artist call out, if everyone likes that idea.
Fantastic. So can I first get a thumbs up if people think that the t-shirt idea is a good thing to explore?
I think
Rosemary's not sure, but it looks like everybody else is on board.
Sure.
Okay.
I'm glad
and then I guess
you're
the
all
second.
Sorry, I'm glad you're all making suggestions along these lines.
I hear what you're saying, Rosemary. I'm not really a t-shirt person all the time either. So I totally hear what you're saying. And then I guess the second question on that would be, do you trust the events subcommittee to pick a design if we do go forward with the t-shirts, or would you like to have a special meeting in May to vote as a group, of a full group, a quorum? So I guess I'm just looking for thumbs up if you want to have it brought to the whole Arts Council and have a special meeting, and thumbs down if you don't feel like you need a vote and you trust the subcommittee. I mean, I'm on the subcommittee, so
I'll probably be out of the country.
Okay, I don't want a special meeting. All right, Daniel and Rachel, it's all up to us. Okay, fantastic. Did that answer all of your questions, Katie?
It sure did. Thank you guys so much. I'll look forward to setting the the events committee meeting very soon.
All right, we'll look for that soon. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Well, that was a lot of fun. The fifth item of regular business is the 23-24 City Arts and Culture Work Plan update. And so for this, we're going to welcome back Eleanor Knight, Recreation Coordinator and Arts Council Staff Liaison.
I'm back. All right. So you guys have seen this before. I'm just going to do a little preface here. We talked about this at the last meeting where we presented the priorities, and you guys were excited about them and accepted them at the last meeting. So over the break, staff has developed the objectives to go along those priorities. And I asked for feedback. Didn't get feedback except for Jonathan. Me and Jonathan had a conversation today, so we did get feedback. You are welcome to discuss this and provide any wordsmithing that you feel necessary during this meeting. I'm going to edit as we go, so hopefully we can get a consensus by the end of it. So that's just my preface ramble.
Okay, were you going to put up a PowerPoint, Eleanor? Oh,
Yes.
Perfect. You didn't get any feedback because I thought it was great. So.
Oh, great. Well, that makes me feel good. Okay. So we'll just start with Jonathan's comment first. His comment was to include a 2.4 welcome arts and culture work that promotes sustainability, equity, diversity, and inclusion. I think this is a great addition, so staff recommends this addition, but I'd love to get a thumbs up, thumbs down from the group on this. Let me put it in grid so I can see people. Here we go, looking good, okay. All right, so I'm going to throw that right on the document. Does anybody have additional comments or just things that maybe you like or dislike about this document while we're here?
Chair Mitchell, if you can't see me, what I really liked about the wording of all of this is that I felt like it was specific to what we do feel passionate about as a council and promoting, but I felt like it was generic enough to leave room for what that actually looks like in reality and how it will play out over the next year. So that was what I liked about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And can I say that I sort of disagree with you on that? I really liked it conceptually. I thought it was very interesting and very well done. My concern is, and I'm beginning to get a sense of how this works, these are general concepts that then the staff will go about coming up with the how, the who, and the why. Because a lot of this is so general that it's like, I don't quite, it doesn't quite tell me anything. So
Right.
that just might not understand how these things exactly work. And that would be my only kind of question about the whole, everything else, it sounds great, you know?
Mm-hmm.
How do you make it happen?
So yeah, it's supposed to be more just a roadmap for staff. So
Okay.
because arts and culture in the city is so spread across divisions, between recreation, between capital projects, and other areas, it's important to have something that we can go back and look and say, okay, here's where we're meeting our goals in different areas. So by keeping it somewhat general, but still actionable, I think that that's the best way to have that moving forward, from the staff's point of view. So one thing that we've talked about in the past is these communication tools.
Mhm.
I'll let Jonathan go ahead.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the council, so we have this policy subcommittee, we'll be rewriting the like the handbook, is that the exact wording, the Arts Council handbook that will lead the council for the next couple of years, and putting in a lot of details in that document to help to guide staff. Is that a correct interpretation of Eleanor of what the handbook will entail, including a lot of stuff on sustainability, diversity, and inclusion?
Yeah, that'll be one of the items that we start to look at. And also there's a lot of policy items that will come to the policy subcommittee to kind of get guidance on where the city moves with some of those items. An example I can bring forward is the gift donation policy, which is working its way through right now. So that'll come to you hopefully in April. And we'll have a good discussion on that and what that looks like.
And I would also say that, it's Lalo, have you gotten the handbook and all of the things on the Arts Council? Because I would encourage you to sit down and read those. And I think that, as a council, really our job is more to recommend and guide, and staff's job is to make it happen, right? So just and if you get too specific, then you can end up sort of painting yourself into a corner where, well, that doesn't fit within our goals or guidelines for the year. So I think that that's something to think about when you're looking at this, keeping it broader can actually be better.
I guess I'm thinking there's a balance between those two things. Having it so specific that you're honed in, you can't do anything else, and being so general that it doesn't have any way to implement, and that we don't know exactly what that means. So that was my question about that. But I agree with you. It should be somewhere, I think, in the middle. So that was, but I'm also understanding that the staff takes a lot of the more conceptual ideas and then says, how do we make that happen? And I assume then that some of those things come back to the Art Council for us to say, yeah, that sounds great, or no, I don't like the way you're doing that, or is that not something we do?
Absolutely. Yeah. So some of the projects that that may be developed off of this, or
Mhm.
maybe developed with this in mind, will definitely
Mhm.
come back to council. And part of that was being like, hey, this meets this goal on the work plan, this meets this on the work plan, to kind of show where it falls on that roadmap.
That's kind of what I figured, but I wanted to, again, part of this is my understanding how this whole process actually unfolds and works. So, yeah.
Right. Great.
Yeah, if I just may add one more thing, anyone who has any questions or wants to make input to the policy side, I think I'm speaking for all of us on the committee, Rosemary, Suzanne, and myself, that we'd love to hear your ideas and talk about them as part of the process.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yes, Daniel, thank you for raising your hand.
Yeah, no problem. So I just have a separate question. At least on the event side, we had a discussion about like a calendar or something, which I think got sort of put into this 1.1 of the communication tools, and to share now, whether we do a calendar or not is to the other point, like that. We're not trying to be prescriptive here, but when we were talking about the calendar, I know that like the J came in and said they have what calendar, and MyVal has a calendar, and the Chamber of Commerce has a calendar. And here what I'm seeing is like the city is developing tools. And I guess my question is like, are we saying the city needs to build something, or is it the city needs to facilitate something, which could be like partnering with someone else in
That's
order
a
to do
great
that?
point. Yeah, I would be open to adding an additional word to that, maybe making it develop and facilitate, or develop or facilitate, or something along those lines.
And I mean, I'm open to what other people think. I just don't want
Absolutely.
the city to think that we need the city to be doing this necessarily
Right.
in-house, because I
That's
think
a good
partnerships
point.
are always a good idea,
Agreed.
if
Yeah.
possible. But that would be fine. I mean, I think that clarifies that. Develop or facilitate, or I don't know what's better here.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, Jonathan.
Yeah, I do think though the city does have resources that are uniquely available to make this happen. So I prefer and over or, because it would increase the chances maybe that those technical resources could be allocated to creating this tool that's been called for so many years.
Council Liaison, would you care to weigh in? Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. I think that, are we talking about a large expense with the creation of this, or is this, like $1,000 a year or $10,000 a year that would be towards building a calendar?
That's a good question. I couldn't give a number right now, but you would also have to include staff time in the maintenance of that tool, the updating of that tool, that sort of thing, which does add up more than I think the implementation of the tool would. So that's something to consider, that perhaps, I mean, we can't make an idea right now, but looking at a development and then a facilitation process that's more of a handoff might be a way that we go, but it's hard to know right now. So by maybe continuing to keep our wording flexible, that would probably be the way to go. And this is one of the reasons that, I mean, this is a 2-year work plan, so we have to keep the wording flexible. And in this case, that's a good example of why, because we don't know what next year could bring, or later this year even. So I think that, yeah, I don't know wording wise what to do.
And can I just clarify? I mean, if the group doesn't want to do this, I didn't mean to overcomplicate this, and it's just maybe you've heard this verbally, and that will be enough here. I just want flexibility for staff to determine what's best.
I hear what you're saying, Daniel. I think one of the wonderful things with our new council liaison is that I feel like we're looking to develop a stronger connection with the council. And so I don't know that it's something that, obviously it's not something that can be decided here in the meeting tonight, but just opening up that dialogue and looking at what those resources might be down the road. So you're wanting to facilitate communications.
I guess one other question I had relates to sources of funding for this. In other words, would this have to come from general fund sources, or is it possible that this could be covered by 1% for the arts funding? And apologies if that's a newbie question to the Arts Council, but is there some flexibility in terms of how we would cover that?
My understanding is that this would not qualify for 1% for the arts, and Suzanne would be the most knowledgeable person on that. I don't know if Suzanne, if you want to weigh in.
Chair Mitchell, I'm also still on the call. This is Sarah Blue
Oh, Sarah. Okay,
CIP
yep.
project manager. Yep.
I can't see everybody because you're on the side of the screen.
Yeah. Your assumption is correct. The 1% funds would not be able to be applied to a project like this. Those are only intended specifically for public art related projects.
Great. Yeah, that was my thought. And then Ted, I'm going to let you go. And then I see your hand as well, Rosemary. So
I'm sorry that I already asked my question.
Oh, you're good. Oh, okay.
Yep.
So Rosemary, yes, please.
I just wanted to add that obviously expense is an important factor, but I think some central communication that would inform people on Mercer Island what's going on would be great, because often things happen and a lot of people may not even know about it. So I think it'd be a great benefit to the community.
Great. So I think specifically moving forward, we just need to decide if we want to add the additional wording that Daniel suggested. So can I get a thumbs up or thumbs down if you wanted to add that additional wording? Put your thumb up. If you don't think it's necessary, then please put your thumb down. And if you don't care, put your thumb sideways.
Elizabeth, could you just repeat what the wording is?
So thank you very much. Eleanor just put it up on the screen and highlighted the possible additional word. Rachel, did you still have a question?
Oh, no, sorry, that was my child question.
No problem, I understand. Okay, so I'm asking for, if you want to include the word a thumbs up, if you don't care, a sideways thumb, and if you don't like it, put your thumb down. And I'm going to try and see all your miniature faces. Okay. Don't care, don't care. Daniel wants it. Lalo wants it. John's okay, well, and I also don't care. So go ahead and stick it in.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right. I guess moving along, any other thoughts, additions, questions?
I am not seeing any. So I would ask board members if I could have a motion to endorse the 23-24 City Arts and Culture Work Plans.
I will move.
Thank you, Rosemary. And may I have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Lalo. So there's a motion by Rosemary, a second by Lalo, and board members, turn on your microphones, and will the city staff please conduct a roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Quick question, would that be as amended, or is
As
it
amended,
okay as is?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Good
for the
catch.
clarification.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Rosemary Moore,
Approve.
Suzanne Scone,
Approve.
Elizabeth Mitchell,
Proof.
Lalo Brule,
Approve.
Jonathan Harrington,
Approve.
Rachel Blum,
Approve.
Daniel Becker.
Approve.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Motion passes and the priorities are endorsed. On to any other business that we might have. Staff, do you have any other updates for us tonight?
I have a quick update, Chair Mitchell. Sorry, I should have sent this to Eleanor ahead of tonight. You all Full Arts Council should be receiving an email notification later this week, either from me or from Leah Klein, our transportation engineer, with some information about upcoming construction that will be happening adjacent to the outdoor sculpture gallery. So we are about to move into construction of some really fantastic pedestrian and bike improvements at Sunset Highway and 77th. The gallery itself won't be impacted aside from a little bit of a rerouting for a portion of the I-90 trail that cuts through the park, but otherwise no artwork is being impacted, and artwork that is sort of near the specific construction area has been folded into the protection plan already. But I just wanted to make sure you all were aware that this message was coming. It'll have more information about kind of road closures and anticipated timing and impacts. And I also believe that Leah will be including the Arts Council on regular construction updates that she'll be sending out periodically through the construction timeline for this project. So if you're in town center starting next week, near the end of the week, and you see some construction around the gallery, this is it. We're hoping that, I believe, targeting the end of June for construction to be complete, but we'll also have updates about that ongoing. So look for that email either from Leah or me this week. And if you have any questions, once you receive that communication or just ongoing through the project, she and I would be happy to talk with you about it. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sarah. It's always nice to have you in our meetings. Yes, Rosemary, did you have a question?
Well, yes, I did. And I totally understand that the city staff are really busy. I was just thinking it'd be really nice if it would be possible to receive the department report ahead of time, even if it's only a day ahead of time, just so we get a chance to review it before the meeting. But I do understand that that may not always be possible.
Absolutely, I can plan for that
Thanks,
on the next
Eleanor.
meeting.
There you are. I was gonna say, Eleanor takes that.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you for that, Rosemary. That's really helpful. Eleanor, was there anything else from staff on your end?
Yeah, I just want to go over the planning schedule really quickly. Just pull it up
Sure.
and give everyone a reminder of what to expect for next month. We have a couple updates on the calendar, update on policy development, update on public art maintenance and restoration, the 6-year spending plan for the 1% fund. And then I just added this box in based on our conversation tonight. Are we expecting to have the events subcommittee coming back in April regarding engagement for those events?
Is Katie still on the call?
I am.
Oh, okay.
I think it would be good to have us on there, especially since the next meeting being July 19th would be after summer celebration and right when concerts are starting. So let's leave it on there and we'll plan to come back.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan to me as well.
Right.
Great. Thanks, Katie.
Looks good. All right, and that is the end of my extra items.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Very productive meeting tonight, everybody. So I'm going to put it out there to members now. If there is any other business to discuss or items to report, now would be the time. Rosemary, yes.
I just wanted to know where we can see the Raven. Is it on display?
That's a great question.
Yes. So currently the piece is installed as part of the temporary exhibit, new temporary exhibit space at Municipal Court. I actually am not sure if the court is generally open to the public. I don't think that it is, but I can confirm that and follow up with you all. I am working with the Mercer Island Public Library on permanently installing the piece at the library. We have 4 pieces total installed at the library currently. 1 set of 2D panels and then 3 sculptures, including the giant rabbit sculpture outside of the library. So just working with the library to confirm that we can install Raven there permanently. And once I have definitively made progress on that, I will also update all of you about that one. But in the meantime, I will check on if it's possible or not to see the piece in public at the court. And if for some reason it isn't, I am sure I can also arrange an opportunity for those who might want to view it in a private viewing from the Arts Council. I'd be happy to do that as well. So more to come on that one.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Sarah, have you seen it yourself?
I have. It's very beautiful.
How big is it? Is it like the Mona Lisa where you think she's big and then you see her in person and you're kind of a little bit disappointed? Or
I wouldn't say disappointed, but you know, it's not massive. I think I don't know the dimensions off the top of my head, but where it's installed right now in the municipal court, it's actually it's very formidable. It's kind of right offset behind the judge, behind his space of the dais up there. So it is a really powerful piece, and hopefully we can get moving with the public library quickly to get it up over there in an equally kind of powerful space.
wonderful. So we don't have to get arrested or something to go see it. That would be good. That's
Yeah, I am not going to go on the record saying that Arts Council members should voluntarily get arrested to view artwork.
we just really support the arts, okay? Yes, Councilmember Ted.
Yeah, so the public
talk to me offline.
the courtroom is a public space, so the public's allowed to come in and see justice and process. It doesn't mean we're allowed to walk behind the judge's desk and look at it while court's in session.
I want the gavel.
But I have had the judge repeat to council multiple times to please come and see the court. He wants it to be a public space. So I think we have to wait between sessions to actually walk behind it to look at it. But I think if you stay while you're there, we'd be happy to let you know the time to go up and see it.
Oh, that's fine. I think Mike, I just thought maybe we weren't because they still had COVID protocols in place. So
yeah, I think they do have just recently they started having somebody with a wand standing by the door to make sure that nobody's bringing in metal and what have you. So there's new protocols that are coming around.
Got it.
But yeah, it is a public space.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anything else from members? All right. Well, I know that we only meet 4 times a year now. We've gone to quarterly. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for all of your hard work in the subcommittees. Encourage you to get to know each other in less than a quorum outside of meeting space. Now that we are starting to ease some of our restrictions more and the weather maybe will start to get a little less rainy so we can go for a walk in the park. Thank you so much to our new City Council liaison. Thank you, Carol. You've been very quiet the whole meeting, but I know you've been here, so I appreciate that. To staff, as always, and the rest of the Arts Council members, thank you guys very much. Keep up the good work. And there being no other business to come before the Arts Council, time is now 6:52 and the meeting is adjourned. However, as a reminder to members, please stay seated until city staff has terminated the Zoom broadcast. Good evening and stay safe and healthy.